Nobody sets out to be cynical. It's not like when you were in high school, you wrote in your high school yearbook, I hope by the time I'm 35 that I'm burned out, jaded, and cynical, go Ravens. Nobody puts that in their high school yearbook, yet it happens to so many of us. And I want to ask you, where does cynicism come from, and how does it start? I'm an optimist by nature, maybe you're an optimist by nature, but by the time I had turned 40, I'd become very cynical. And what surprised me is my cynicism didn't start out in law. I was a lawyer before I became a pastor. It actually budded in ministry. And it was so surprising. I remember in law being surrounded by cynical people. There was a lawyer at the firm I worked at in Toronto who came in one Friday afternoon. He was in his 30s, made a lot of money, and he bought a lottery ticket, waved it in my face, and he said, "Carey, if I win this thing, you will never see my face again." And the challenge was he owned the firm. He owned the firm. And I'm like, wow. And he made a lot of money. It's like, how do you get to that point, was 20-year-old me asking that question. But fast forward a few years, and I finally began to realize how it happened. For me, one of the things that helped me become more cynical was we had nurtured a series of friendships in our life. And we had 4 couples in particular that we were really close to. And one summer, for reasons that are still a little bit mysterious, 2 of those friendships dissolved. And it hurt. I mean, these were people that we did vacations with, that we hung out with, we had dinner with. Our kids hung out with their kids. It was that kind of thing. And I fully believe in owning my share of the pie. And I tried to make it better with those friends. And I went to people that I knew and I said, hey, what part of this do I own? Like what part of this am I responsible for? And the people who knew the situation said to me, actually, in this case, Carey, we don't think it was you, which didn't make it better. And I went through a period where I just said to my wife, I just said, honey, I said, I'm going to continue in ministry, but I think I'm done with people. Like, I'm just done with the people part. And I went through about a year where I just said, I'm not making friends anymore. It's too hurtful. It's too hard. I'm just done with people. And after a year, I thought, well, that's stupid. Like, that's a really bad move because, I mean, you kind of need people, right? Isn't the heart of our faith to have a relationship with God and a relationship with people? That's what Jesus said. Solomon gives us a clue as to where cynicism comes from. In Ecclesiastes chapter 1, he says, and he was the wisest man in the world in his lifetime, he said, the greater my knowledge, the greater my grief. The greater my wisdom, the greater my sorrow. Cynicism starts not because you don't know, but because you do. And cynicism grows in you not because you don't care, but because you do care. And so what I had to learn to do, and it was really hard, was I had to learn to hope again, to trust again, and to believe again. It's like God was telling cynical me, Carey, you got to take your heart out of its concrete shell, and you got to put it back out there and trust me to take care of you. And so the antidote to cynicism is to hope again, trust again, and believe again. And what I've learned over these last few years is that as I let my heart feel and believe and trust God again, incredible things happen. Most people are not out to hurt you. Most people are just like you. They're trying to make friends in the world. So once a cynic, not always a cynic. Cynicism can be beaten, and Jesus shows us how.